Africa Enlightenment Center, religious, political, and social enlightenment. Hello, welcome to Africa Enlightenment Center. In this video, I'm going to be debunking the teaching of hell and the lake of fire by Pastor Chris Oyakhilome, one of Africa's biggest pastors. This teaching is one of the lies that has been used to induce fear in the hearts of those who believe in Christianity and to continue to put them in bondage, in mental bondage, so that the pastors can continue, to make the most of them, take advantage of them, and make so much money. I'm going to be debunking it in a few minutes, but first of all, let's watch the video.
Nobody will be okay in hell. It's not possible. And I'm not yet talking about the lake of fire, which is worse than hell. The lake of fire is worse than hell. Nobody's in the lake of fire yet, but there are people in hell. And hell is not the final place. The lake of fire is the final place. No one is there yet. There are people in hell. Hell will be cast into the lake of fire. Hell. It's not a place to even think. Listen, no one will ever come out of it. Do you understand?
Welcome back. So you heard him, you heard the preacher, Pastor Chris, saying that some people are in hell, they're not in the lake of fire yet, and later people will be thrown into the lake of fire, which is more dangerous than hell and all that, and nobody will be able to come out of it. Now, you can see that these people are very ignorant. I'm going to show you in a jiffy. You're going to see from what we're going to be examining that these pastors are really ignorant of what they're preaching. They don't even know what they're preaching. What they're preaching is what they learned by rote, from redacted, misinterpreted, misrepresented scriptures over the years that have been passed down from generation to generation. They just pick on them and just preach it, to put fear in the heart of their followers so that they can keep them in the mill and keep grinding away, making so much money and becoming billionaires, over the years. But it's time that we bust these myths, bust the bubbles, and set people free. And that is what this channel stands for. Africa Enlightenment Center, to bring enlightenment to people. So we're going to be delving into the Bible and looking at a lot of scriptures to be able to bring light to this issue. So follow me, let's go. Talking about hell, not just hell, most of the concepts that you find in the New Testament were developed from the Old Testament scriptures and given a futuristic outlook. So most of them were given literal interpretations and given futuristic outlook. For example, Isaiah 66 verse 24 is one of the scriptures that were used to develop the concept of hell. You read it and it says, "And they will go out and look on the dead bodies of those who rebelled against me. The worms that eat them will not die, the fire that burns them will not be quenched, and they will be loathsome to all mankind." So this is one of the scriptures from which the concept of hell was developed. Secondly, the word hell does not even exist, is not in the Bible, does not exist in the Bible. It's not there in the Bible. You see that? So it was a misrepresentation, misinterpretation, and reduction of the word Gehenna. Gehenna is the Greek word for the place called Hinnom Valley. So the Hinnom Valley is what you're seeing on your screen right now. Let's delve into the scriptures and try to understand what is written about Gehenna that is mistranslated and misrepresented. In 2 Chronicles 28 verse 3, King Ahaz was accused of burning incense in that valley of Hinnom, and also sacrificing his children to the fires of Molech in that same valley. So the history of that valley speaks about the human sacrifices that were offered in that place until later years where it became a refuse dump, that there was always fire burning in that place. In the scriptures you are seeing on your screen, the word Gehenna there is used figuratively to describe, punishment, to describe judgment and all that. It had nothing to do with any future place where people are going to be, burned and all that. So it was figuratively used in this text. So it wasn't, or it has nothing to do with any spiritual punishment or any afterlife punishment. That is why it is important to study the Bible and not just read it and just take whatever your preachers, pour at you just to manipulate your mind. About the lake of fire, let's read Revelation chapter 20, verse 11 to 15. That's where the lake of fire was taken from. So we have to put it in context. Then I saw a great white throne, and him who sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away. And there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, standing before God, and books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged according to their works, by the things which were written in the books. The sea gave up the dead who were in it, and death and Hades delivered up the dead who were in them. And they were judged, each one according to his works. Then death and Hades were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And anyone not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So to understand this scripture, you have to read Daniel chapter 12, 1 to 3. But before then, let me highlight some critical things that you need to pick from this scripture. One, you have to understand that when it talks about death here, it's not talking about anything that has to do with physical or spiritual death. It was actually talking about the law and all the works of the law, vanishing away. And then the institutions that service the law, the theocratic regime that ruled over the Jews and the Gentiles, that separated Jews from Gentiles, that theocratic regime, the final destruction of that theocratic regime was actually the second death. So all of it was cast into the lake of fire, is symbolic of what happened in AD 70 when the Romans finally destroyed the Jewish leadership institution, which was a theocratic institution established on the laws, the purported laws of Moses, right? Where the temple was destroyed in AD 70 by Titus, and all things that had to do with the leadership of the Jews, okay? The theocratic leadership was totally destroyed. So there was no more separation of Jews or Gentiles and all that. Let's look at Daniel chapter 12. It says, at that time, Michael shall stand up, the great prince who stands watch over the sons of your people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time, your people shall be delivered, everyone who is found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. Those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. So if you look at this and the scriptures we read before, you notice some similarities. You notice the book of life, you notice judgment and resurrection and all that. So one thing you must understand is, to understand the book of Daniel, you need to read the book of 1st and 2nd Maccabees. It talks about what happened that Daniel, was written about. All right. But so many years later, some people or somebody wrote again, to reflect that what happened in Daniel is what Daniel wrote about is what was happening at that time. So they were writing the book of Revelation based on the revelations of Daniel and Isaiah, Jeremiah, and all these apocalyptic apocalyptic scriptures, or these scriptures that carry apocalyptic tone. So they had to write the book of Revelation based on these scriptures. So when you look at the themes, book of life, judgment, and resurrection, all right? So, and you take note of the word, your people. So it was actually talking about the Jews and their estranged brothers, the Gentiles, because you must understand that the Gentiles are Jews whom the Jewish people see as outcasts because they feel that they were not pure Jews, those who intermarried with other tribes. Of course, you know the Bible is against them intermarrying with other tribes. All right, so the siege of Jerusalem by Titus and his armies in AD 70 lasted for about 42 months. And that was the time it was written. All this was going to happen according to Daniel chapter 12, verse 7. So they literally interpreted Daniel chapter 12, verse 7 and gave it an apocalyptic tone. So he says, then I heard the man clothed in linen who was above the waters of the river. When he held up his right hand and his left hand to heaven and swore by him who lives forever, that it shall be for a time, times, and half a time. And when the power of the holy people has been completely shattered, all these things shall be finished. So the shattering of the powers of the holy people, what was their power? It was their government. The shattering of their government. That was the end of it. So it was destroyed by fire. The temple was burnt and many of them died in the temple. You see that? So that was the end of that institution that divided the people, that separated the people. That was the end of all that. So that was the second death. So the first death has to do with the law and all its ministrations and all the trouble it brought to the people. You know, so many people were stoned to death. A lot of people were destroyed because of the law, the strict adherence to the law and all that, just like Islam is today in the world. All right. So that was what actually happened there. Okay. So it has nothing to do with any future or any spiritual place where people are going to be born and all that. All of this had to do with the Jews and the Gentiles, the Jews and their own brothers. If you want to read more, you can read 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 14 to 15, Revelation 21, verse 3, 1 Corinthians 6, 19 to 20. You can also read Luke 17, verse 21. You can also read Colossians chapter 1, verse 27, talking about, the chosen people of Israel and all that was going to happen, talking about the kingdom. All right. The kingdom was talking about actually a new government that was going to come up, that was going to eliminate all of the barriers, that separated the Jews from their Gentile brothers. You can read these scriptures, to understand it. I'm going to do another video to actually link up all of these scriptures that I'm talking about to explain what actually happened between the Jews and the Gentiles. So, Pastor Chris is actually saying rubbish.
Hell is not a place to even consider that you might just be okay. Nobody will be okay in hell.
He is saying rubbish. He doesn't know what he's saying. All right. There is no lake of fire anywhere that anybody's going to be thrown into. There's nothing like hellfire. Thank you for watching. Share this video and help others gain enlightenment. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel.